began working on the sketch by carefully studying the finished painting, trying to capture the composition, the character of the figure, and the mood of the scene. Using a B2 pencil, I first lightly outlined the general silhouette of the figure, the position of the head, shoulders, and arms. I also outlined the oval of the face, the center line, and the placement of the eyes, nose, and mouth to maintain the correct proportions. Then I drew the hands, as they occupy a central place in the composition. It was important to convey the position of the fingers grasping the glass. After this, I defined the boundaries of the clothing, the folds of the fabric, and the direction of the light, which influences the shape and shadows. I defined the background last only the main rectangular planes and the lines of the furniture to maintain the compositional balance. Once all the elements were in place, I refined the contours and erased unnecessary guidelines with an eraser. This gave the sketch a clean and clearly structured appearance, serving as a ready-made base for coloring. Once the sketch was completely finished, I moved on to coloring with acrylic paints. I began by working on the background to establish the overall mood of the work. Using a wider brush, I applied the main fill colors, a bright green for the walls and a warm yellow for the surfaces. The acrylic applied in a thick, even layer, giving the background a clean and graphic feel. I intentionally left some uneven transitions to support the painting's illustrative, slightly cartoonish style. I painted the ceiling panels and door with a medium brush to ensure the lines were crisp but not too thin. After the background dried, I moved on to the clothing. The jacket is one of the larger objects, so I used a medium brush and a slightly muted brownish palette, trying to convey the texture of the soft fabric. I emphasized the folds with a darker tone and individual contours with a fine brush for a neat stylized effect. The green laces added movement and contrast to the painting, so I painted them with a bright, saturated color to support the overall rhythm. Next, I worked on the hair. I used a combination of golden brown shades, applying paint in short strokes with a medium brush to convey the direction of the strands. Using a thin brush, I added contours and inner lines to create a textured effect. The hair turned out expressive and slightly contoured, which fits well with the overall style. Working on the face required particular precision. I took a thin brush and started with the basic light skin tones, applying the acrylic evenly. Then, I gradually added shadows under the chin, on the neck, and around the eyes. I highlighted the lips with a soft, reddish hue, but kept the stylized simplicity without too much detail to support the overall style of the drawing. The most important thing is to convey the character's kindness and calm mood. Once the larger elements were completed, I moved on to the smaller details, the nails, the lines of the fingers, the contours of the glass, and the reflection of the drink. This is where the thin brush came in especially handy. I made the nails bright red to add a pop of color. I drew the glass with light lines, conveying the transparency and roundness of its shape. I filled the drink with a deep red burgundy color, creating the visual center of the composition. The hands holding the glass are the first thing the viewer notices. As a final touch, I went over all the contour lines with a thin brush, emphasizing the stylistic integrity of the work. The acrylic paint provided a rich, vibrant color scheme that enlivened the sketch and gave the effect of a finished, vibrant illustration. Critical assessment of the painting. What went well? The composition is beautifully conveyed. The hands holding the glass become the main element and immediately draw attention. The colors are vibrant and saturated. The painting looks lively and emotional. The contour stylization successfully unites all the elements, creating a distinctive style. The hair, clothing, and background have a clear structure and are easily readable. What could be improved? The proportions of the face are slightly simplified and could be more precise if realism were the goal. The shadows on the skin could be softer to add depth. The background can be used to enhance perspective, creating a more three-dimensional space. The glass and liquid can be drawn in slightly more detail to enhance the sense of transparency. What to add or change? A little reflection on the fingers from the red drink would add realism. Subtle soft highlights in the hair could enliven the texture. The background can be slightly darkened at the edges for depth and to emphasize the figure. The work is executed in a stylized graphic style, somewhere between a comic book and an illustration. The combination of bright, flat colors, active contours, and simplified forms creates the effect of modern pop art with hints of naive art. Who might like it? Lovers of bright, contrasting illustrations, those who appreciate unconventional stylized portraits, fans of comic book style, pop art, and abstract emotional presentation, people who prefer portraits in an original style rather than strict realism.